Thanks. Holy shit. Wow.
Wow, what a trip, dude. Great job.
Oh, you know what it is?
Mm.
I should definitely... next time I'll turn off voice activation. Because I
Yeah.
probably said something about like a NEW video. And it
Uh,
might have started a NEW video. Okay, well, that was a fuck up. Anyways, thank you for joining us on the YouTube video. Eddie was talking about how he started flipping because majorly is not a word, in a big way because of Gary Vaynerchuk's Trash Talk series. Thanks for joining us. Next time you'll see the entirety of this. Way to start,
yeah,
trappings.
way to start.
But anyways, to get back onto it, let me just do another clap just in case. So that was, yeah, for me, I had also Gary Vaynerchuk, but in a different way. He was on his like Ask Gary V show, his podcast, his advice podcast, and somebody had wrote in and they were complaining about not having enough money to start their venture, to start this thing that they wanted to do. And he offhand mentioned, but he had mentioned before, and I never really connected what he was saying. He offhand mentioned flipping things. And now he's talked about this before. Obviously, his childhood, he flipped like, baseball cards, different paraphernalia, things having to do with sports mostly. But then he mentioned a very specific, concrete piece of advice, which was to how to flip on eBay specifically. And that is what started it off for me, because it made me realize that the barrier to entry for flipping things is super easy. And what he advised everyone from that point on, obviously flipping has become a bigger thing, and he kind of felt that pulse and went with it, and he explained it. He talked about how on eBay, all you do is sell things out of your closet, which is what I was going to do. He said, look for things that you have, search them on eBay, filter by sold item, and you can see what the market values your item for. So, these headphones that I have, they're not AirPods. They're not, you can't flex with them. You can't say, sorry, I can't hear you, got my AirPods in.
Sorry.
But they're nice Sennheiser active noise canceling headphones. I could look up the exact make and model of these. I have all the components. Then I look on eBay what people have previously sold them for and how recently they sold them, whether it was an auction or whether it was a buy now, which is more of an inventory sell. And then I can put them up myself for a certain price and sell them. And that unlocked the door for me. Now, my kind of my entree into this whole thing was a much more significant flip, but with the scope, but like the scale of it, I bought a Blu-ray. Yeah, I bought a Lost Blu-ray collector's edition set. It must have weighed like 10 pounds or whatever. This thing was hefty. It had the entire seasons 1 through 6. It even had a secret disc. There was a game built into it, and the game pieces were all sealed in the plastic still. And I bought it because I love Lost. I love J.J. Abrams. I bought it at Goodwill for $12. Such a weird find that I found it there. And then I flipped it for $125. So it was a major thing, but even that had trappings in it, which I guess we can get into, because we were all very excited in the beginning, and Eddie talked about his kind of misguided notion of what flipping was. It's very exciting in the beginning and when you first sell your first thing, but I mean, just get into like eBay startup in general. Like, I guess we can start there with a platform, because we both started on eBay.
Okay, yeah. So we both start on eBay, and so eBay is like generally is really straightforward. You want to sell something, you post it, and then somebody buys it, you send it off. But the process is a little bit more complicated, especially on a buyer standpoint, or I'm sorry, not a buyer, but on a seller standpoint, because there's a couple things you have to do. One, you have to list the item. Okay, easy enough. But within that, there's a certain list of categories. So depending on what the product is, there's like this subcategory of other things that you have to fill out. So like what the item actually is, what is name, what's the description, like are there any like defects or things that are wrong with it. Then you have to go into like where specifically is that listing going to go in the world of eBay. Is it antiques, is it collectible,
Electronics,
is it electronic, things like that. And then you have to go into like how much is it being priced for. eBay does a pretty good job of auto generating like a price from existing and past like items that are similar to that one. So it'll do the work for you. But a lot of times you can just edit it and put your own price on there. I would never really suggest going above that, like over what is being sold for. But a lot of times eBay does smack you in the middle, like at a low average, because they do want you to sell the item.
Yeah.
Like that's what they're really in it for.
Yep.
And then one big thing is shipping. Shipping
Yeah.
is very, very.
That's a
like,
whole section.
That could be very complicated.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next because that has a whole list of trappings that we've found.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the times what they don't tell you is that they charge up front for listing. So not immediately, like not when you list, they ask for money, but they do monthly invoices where they collect on the fees that you've accrued by putting things on there.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be very ambitious. You might have so much things in your closets. Maybe you have cameras or God knows what you have to sell, but you want to just sell it right away. Boom, you list and list and list and list and list and list. Now you have a big like stack of fees that you have to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very selective with what you put up there too, because you have to accept that charge as you go onto the site. And it's not a big thing. It's like $1, maybe a couple dollars. In the beginning, it's a little bit more expensive because you're a new seller and they're taking a gamble on you.
Mm-hmm.
But know that is coming around the corner. So if your thing doesn't sell immediately, you might not profit from it. You know, there is a bit of a startup.
There is. You definitely need like a little bit of startup cash, but the idea is, hopefully your selling outpaces the expenses.
Except for the first, while, because they hold your money.
Oh my god. I hate
So yeah,
that.
what's something they don't tell you, and like what you might, I mean, obviously if you're looking into this, then you might already know.
Yeah.
But if you want to start selling, if you're someone out there who has something in your closet you want to sell, know that even if you sell something the day you post it, you're not going to get your money for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
As a new seller, you are a liability or kind of a wild card. They don't know your habits, your trends. They're going to withhold your money for 3 weeks.
Up to 3 weeks.
Up to 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll get your money. So be ready to wait. But the longer you stay on the site, the more you get rewarded.
Yeah, definitely. So after that, after you go through that whole, fiasco of just trying to list your item, then I think the next biggest thing would be to set up a PayPal account. Because for me, I just like organization, and to have my money separate from everything else makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So eBay really encourages that you set up your eBay account with the PayPal account linked to it. So when you do that, have it linked, and then also get a prepaid not prepaid Visa card, a PayPal Visa card. And so
MasterCard. It's a debit MasterCard.
Oh, it's a debit MasterCard? Okay, it doesn't matter. But anyways, it's a debit card.
Yeah, there you go. Debit card. That's the more important part.
Yeah. So with that in mind, it just makes it easier to keep that money separate, and like you're able to have that money like for other like eBay related expenses. So with my PayPal card, not only do I use it to buy stuff or like to get my money on there after making a flip, I also use it to buy supplies for shipping, buy flips, like future flips, and so on. Is it still recording?
Yeah, I keep checking it because that made me
Stop
nervous.
breaking the fourth wall.
I know. But as long as it's blinking, we're good.
Yeah,
I must have said some keywords. I'll turn off voice activation next time. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
That was just really embarrassing that I triggered it.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. But yeah, so go on. Sorry, getting the debit card, dealing with PayPal.
Getting the debit card, dealing with PayPal. PayPal, as much as not as much, but eBay has its own listing like fees that it collects. PayPal also has their own fees. So I don't know exactly what the percentage is.
Ultimately, at the very end, you can safely say that 13% of what you make, excluding postage or anything, whatever you get, that the price that the number that you get when it's like your thing sold, this person paid blah blah blah, take 13% away from that, and then you're left with your cut.
Yeah.
Because I think it is it's like 2% here or like 10% here, 13% there. Depending, I forgot which one takes which, but 13% is kind of the general.
PayPal definitely takes the less.
Yeah, so it's 3% from PayPal, 10% from eBay.
Yeah.
But then there's also listing fees and stuff too.
Of course.
But that pays after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So okay, let me just condense it and make it much more cleaner. So when it comes to fees, right? As a beginner seller on eBay, you will get hit with the highest fees because you are technically a liability, and there's no trust or like frequency built with you just starting out as a seller. So when it comes to money, you're gonna wait a while from getting your money. When it comes to fees, you're gonna get hit with the highest fee rates. And on top of that, like since you are new to eBay and you have no like seller ratings of any sort or feedback on top of that, you're just really just starting from the ground up.
Yeah, and especially if you have electronics, what I realized, because I had a lot of electronics in my closet to sell, they will stop you from selling more electronics.
Yeah.
There are certain categories where just think of like what's the more risky items that you might want to put more research into buying. Those are the categories that will be restricted. So I had to call them, and that's the thing too, is like if you call them and you talk to someone, you can unlock a lot more than you think. You just have to be like, hey, there's another human on the other side of here, and reason with another human being. So I was able to unlock more. You can sell more electronics, but those are going to be more restricted in the beginning. But as you go on, in general, as you go on and you get good feedback, that's another thing. It doesn't matter if you're like a really good seller, if you sell a lot of things, if you make profit, if you make multiple sales. What's most important is that you get feedback from your buyers.
Yeah.
And
you know it better than I do, but like what are the criteria to like up your status?
So yes. So in the beginning you're like a baby seller. I don't know exactly what they call you. But in order to get to the next level, they have a tiers, and you can look this up on their website for more information. But when I started, in order to unlock more listings, unlock more profitability in a month, and unlock less fees, you have to make $250 at least in domestic sales. You have to wait 90 days. So 90 days from your first sell, so September 4th, 3 months after that would be the
November
4th. What is it?
November 4th. No, sorry,
December 4th. So on December 4th, Eddie would then be eligible if he had $250 in domestic sales, 25 points of feedback, and I think that's it. But then it unlocks, like, there's top rated seller, and then there's power seller. Once you get up to the higher tiers, most of it has to do with how much profit you've made in a year, in like a calendar year. But what's also important, and maybe this best to start as soon as possible with this in mind, they don't measure based off of when you started. They measure off of the actual calendar. So even though Eddie and I started in the last year, towards the end, none of that contributes to our rating this year because now it's the start of a new calendar year. So they cut it off and they're like, well, how good did you do last year? That affects your rating. Now it's the new year and you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
So
I have 10 points of feedback right now, all positive. So
yeah.
Technically, I have a 100% positive rating.
There you go. And then
really nice.
Again, it's also your ratio. Kind of like an Uber driver or anything where it's like a service where you're selling and buying things. It's all about keeping the customers happy, keeping customers on the app from eBay's point of view. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're cordial, a lot of things that Eddie's good at as well is reaching out to your buyer immediately and saying, putting a human connection through it, not just being like, this is how much you pay, beep, boop, beep. It's like a robot.
I always send them 3 emails. One right when they buy, thanking them. It's like, hey, thanks for buying this from my eBay. Within that first email, I tell them what they bought, just in case they like accidentally bought something that they didn't mean to. Mm-hmm. When I'm gonna ship it and what that shipping entitles. So tracking, like when they're gonna get it guaranteed by, so on and so forth. My second email is right when I ship it. Like literally as I leave UPS, the USPS store, I email them like, I just shipped your item, blah blah blah, and then I update the tracking information. And then the third one comes like a few days afterwards, where you can also track the shipping yourself too to make sure the item got there. And I wait a few days after the fact that they got it, and I actually learned this from you. And then I tell them, hey, just checking up, like how is everything? Like did your item come fine? Like is it like up to your standards, so on and so forth. And those are just really like it's just based off good customer service. You know, I've worked in retail for 7 years, and so I've learned a couple of things along the way about like how people really like to be interacted with when it comes to like in a customer service setting.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, like almost every email, I put if you don't mind, can I like feedback would be great for my eBay, so on and so forth. And about like 10% of the people I ask actually leave me feedback.
Yeah, which is good.
Surprisingly enough, the feedback that I get back the most is when, say for example, I've had a couple items that either come damaged or just like didn't show up at all. And so like literally no hassle, I was like, yeah, I'll refund you the money. Like no matter, like I don't care what it is. Even if you're lying, sure, big deal.
Yeah.
I'll refund you the money.
Because it always behooves you to give them the benefit of the doubt because it reflects well on you.
Yeah. And like from those interactions the most, I've gotten like those are like the best returns of feedback I've gotten.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's like an aspect of human psychology. Not to go on a tangent, but like they did a study that the best reviews come from when the mistake was made and you overcompensated rather than giving the already overcompensated great service from the jump.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's about it's all relevant or relative. If you started off down here and you were boosted up to here, you feel like that velocity, that direction, it feels like you were somehow treated better. But even if you met there, if somebody gave you that amount of service, then you're going to be like, yeah, it was good. They're not going to give you an excellent rating, but it's like, yeah, it's good. Yeah. But that's the great thing about eBay. It's more of like a thumbs up, thumbs down thing. It's not a stars rating. They'll just give you positive or negative or neutral, like so.
Yeah.
So,
but even neutral affects like your overall score.
Yeah. That's so you always want. Obviously, you always
stay in the green.
Positive.
Yeah.
Exactly. So shipping. I guess we can touch on that quickly.
Shipping,
because that was a big upstart too. I'll explain my method. And you go into because we went down different paths, but we ultimately came to the best option for ourselves. And I'm probably going to lean more towards yours now, to be honest, for consistency's sake.
Yeah, of course.
But anyways, so for me, I started off and I went to like CVS, I think, and I bought a box. I remember buying it for Lost. And Lost was this big square and it was pretty short. Imagine like a pyramid that had its top cut off. That's what the packaging looked like. So I bought a bigger box at CVS and bubble wrap, and I was going to be all professional about it, but then I ended up having to like cut the box in a way so that it would be smaller because it was too big and clunky for what it was. But basically, as I went along, I realized actually the biggest finesse for me, because I was going to school at the time, it was move-in season, like just in the beginning of the semester, and what my school had done is sectioned off parking spaces with orange mesh construction fencing and metal barriers, and they would make that a cardboard drop off because they knew people were moving in. They were either getting Amazon packages of like starter packs for stuff to move in, or they were moving stuff in boxes, and they needed somewhere to throw them away because they didn't want to burden the recycling of the dorms. So they made that like a cardboard depot. So for me at the time, just starting to flip, that was like heaven. I would literally pick out like super uniquely shaped boxes to fit whatever my packaging was. I had to ship a ukulele, so it was thin, it was tall, it was a little wide. So I used like a shelving unit, and it literally fit in perfectly. So obviously I got very lucky there, but in general, my method for finding shipping at that point was sourcing it from from work. Or anytime I saw a cardboard box on the side of the road in somebody's recycling bin, I'd take it if it fit my criteria. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, I have an item, it's generally shaped like that, I can cushion it, cool. And I had bubble wrap in the beginning, but, when people throw away newspapers too, and they have stacks and stacks and stacks of newspapers, that is excellent packaging. You literally just have to crumple loosely some newspaper, and it fills up so much space and creates so much cushioning.
Yeah. When I walk Clover around the block, we get these like the tabloids. Nobody ever reads them.
Yeah.
So I just pick them up and take them home.
Yeah, and so it's free packaging, which
for real estate.
It is for real estate. Any way you can save on the flip, any way you can cut your costs, is immensely helpful, because the packaging, like, you wouldn't think a cardboard box costs a lot of money, but if you have to buy a cardboard box every time you want to ship something, it's so pricey and it's so frustrating. So just find free cardboard. You'd be surprised, once you start doing this, then you start having to find something to ship it in. You'd be surprised how much quote unquote packaging you don't think about packaging, you think about it as trash, but you realize, like, you don't realize how much of it is just lying around. So, but Eddie found something recently as like his method, and I think I'm probably gonna lean towards that.
Oh yeah, just buy in bulk. That's all it really is. It's just buy in bulk. So a lot of the items that I do have are like pretty durable, so they don't need to be like protected in an actual box. So what I do is I have these like shipping bags. You can buy in bulk on Amazon.
You got a good example of them.
Oh yeah.
Because now we have a video podcast too.
This is the bigger of the two, but yeah, just something like this.
It's great ASMR, by the way.
This, yeah.
What? For ASMR, for the.
Yeah. But yeah, this can hold really like larger piece items like books, shirts, any like decent sized clothing that isn't like heavy like winter wear can definitely just go in this.
Yeah. So that's what I think I'm gonna do now, because most of the things are that size anyways.
Yeah, and these things are like pretty durable. Like they're pretty hard to rip once you like seal the package, and in general like, you want to rip it open. They're really hard.
Yeah.
They're also waterproof too. Which is nice. So yeah, I just buy those in bulk because what happened to me was when I started to like consistently get buyers picking up my items, I went to the post office, and then I had a like really cheap item that I was still gonna make a profit because I didn't buy it. I'm just selling it. But then I was like, shit, I don't have a package, and so I had to buy a package at the USPS store, which cost the shipping and what it, like they bought it for. So I literally thank God I broke even on that sell. So which really sucks. So after that I literally I left the USPS store, went on Amazon, found shipping packages, and I just like bought like a 200 pack for $12. So if you think about that, like it's 6 cents per like bag.
Yeah. And that's another thing.
You can use it for 200. So that's only a 6 cent expense on your overall like bottom line versus buying a $3 bag or box.
Yeah, and that's another thing too is dimensions. If you go bag route, that's a lot easier. It's just like priority mail up to a certain point and it covers it. But I ran into a problem because I used a wrong size box, a box that was maybe a couple 2-3 inches too tall, and that put a surcharge on the shipping, doubled the shipping, and made me take a wash on the whole thing. The shipping itself cost. The total was the shipping was more than what the buyer paid for the item plus what they paid for shipping. So I took a wash on that when I didn't have to if I just found a better box. So try to find economically shaped and sized shipping. It's going to save you in the long run, and just be accurate with your dimensions too, because they do the calculator on eBay.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll tell you how much
just
you're
do your
shipping.
due diligence.
Yeah.
Like mainly I ship off from USPS because one is convenient and two they have the best rates. And like every item that I get, like if you don't have a scale at home per se, just literally Google the product. You can actually Google the product on Amazon, and Amazon has all the specifications in terms of dimension and weight. And you can just plug that in onto the.
I don't even think that. It's smart.
I'm pretty sure I told you, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. But you could just do that and just figure out all of your, just shipping basics, and then that can calculate it. And now you have an accurate, just an accurate listing of how shipping is going to go. So now it saves you confusion, and it saves you money on top of that.
Yeah.
Because now you're not going to go to the USPS store being like, all right, cool, like this is how much it said it was going to ship for on eBay, and then it's like $7 more, which has happened to me multiple times, and I hate when that happens. But another thing too is, so I like to ship off of USPS. eBay also, alongside of being linked with PayPal, they also have like some deal with USPS, or just shipping in general actually, where you can print your label through eBay, and eBay encourages you to do that, so they give you a discount every time you do it. So it's like about 70 to 85 cents. So if you think about it, when that money gets transferred to your PayPal account, like that kind of negates that, like discount on the shipping negates the PayPal
It's like waiving
expense.
some of the fee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're like actually like breaking even and saving money
Yeah.
from like the two, which is really, really great. And on top of that, which people don't know, is that the buyer still pays the regular shipping. You already get the discount from, like, this is after the fact, after
Yeah.
you get the money and everything, you get the discount, so it doesn't get readjusted for the buyer.
Yeah.
So like you kind of get a little bit
Because you
more benefit.
choose to print the label after they've already purchased the thing.
Exactly.
Because you can either go in or you can print the label for less.
Exactly.
But anyways, that was enough in baseball. That's like, I can even just like highlight some of the clips and maybe edit that. I probably won't. But we can also just do a sit down.
I'm not gonna do
that. I'm not gonna do it, but because that was also too long of a stretch. But
Mm-hmm.
if we wanted to, we could make like a Twitter post about it or something, or link off to someone who maybe gives the rundown better.
Mm-hmm.
Make a note of that actually.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's enough in baseball. More back to the experience itself. So everyone starts with stuff in their closet. Anything you just got lying around. I'd say the rule of thumb is if you haven't used something in the last 6 months, in general, when you're cleaning your room, like I know tidying up is a huge popular show on Netflix now of this like Japanese woman who's very much into like organization, interiors, and then she'll come in and she'll like be like, thank this item for being in your life, now let it go. But we, on the other hand, would
turns
be
into a dove and
yeah, exactly, right? This dirty sock turns into a dove and flies away. But use that same logic, but you can actually just make money off of it. And a big problem you might be like, well, I bought this thing for $80 and it's only going to go for $20. Why would I sell it? Like why would I that's losing money. It's throwing away. If you don't sell it, you're losing money anyways.
Yeah, true.
At least get the $20 from it and move on with your life.
Yeah.
Which gets
from
to
the past.
Yeah,
too.
which gets to a point we'll touch on in a second. Probably the larger point that we learned from this, from flipping. But yeah, look through your closet, look through your room when you're cleaning. Spring cleaning's coming up, perfect time. We'll also talk about that in a second. But anything you haven't used in 6 months, I'm pretty sure you have stuff that you haven't used for years, and it's just sitting there, and it just looks like your room. You think that it's part of your room. Like, be critical with what you have and what you're actually going to keep, what's functional in your life. Surprising amount of stuff that we have we're never going to use again, or it's just sitting there kind of looking the part and filling up space in your room. Find out what it's worth. You'd be very surprised. Like the Lost box set. I mean, I know box sets are worth a lot, but it's like, who buys DVDs anymore? It's like, if you have collector's edition box sets, or if you have a collection of discs, those are worth a lot more because somebody put thought into those.
Yeah. So just to pretty much condense what Gage said, if you do have things in your house that you don't use, just siphon through all of them, see what's worth selling, see what's worth donating, and then like separate those into 2 piles and do what you need to do with them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, trust me when I say this, you have a lot of stuff that you probably don't need. And for me and my sense of organization, too much clutter is like, it bothers me.
Yeah.
So I do like to see, minus this right here, I do like to have, it's just a nice, neat room.
Yeah.
With as little things as possible, because I just feel too crowded at that point.
And it's good
There's
practice,
nothing
too.
wrong. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong to have like tchotchkes and whatnot, and like little doohickeys on your table to give it a little bit more personality. But when you have like things stacked on top of each other and just, you're finding a place to put something because you have no room, then yeah, maybe you should start getting rid of some stuff.
Yeah. But like the reason I say like talk about cleaning your room specifically is if you're scared about what we're doing now, which is actually going to the store, buying things with the intention to resell them, you can always start off with free stuff. I mean, yes, you've paid for it, but it is sitting there being free. You already own it. It's part of your inventory.
Yeah.
Sell it. Especially, like, that's why I started off, because when Gary Vee said, do this, this, and that on eBay, and you can sell an item, obviously it's not guaranteeing that's going to sell, but in my head, I was like, oh, I don't have enough, I wish I had more money to do my stuff, or like, how am I going to, if I wanted to make a movie, if I wanted to like fund a movie by myself, how am I going to raise this money? And somebody was asking that question about how they're going to raise funds to start their business or whatever. And he's like, you can put a couple extra thousands of dollars in your pocket every year if you just flip stuff. And when he explained it, I'm like, oh, you're just sitting on money. Like, you're kind of wasting it away by just letting it sit there.
That's how I bought all my upholstery stuff, was through flipping.
Yeah.
Actually.
It's an actual feasible thing that we realized is once you start selling it, you get a knack for it. You get that practice with your closet flips
Yeah.
and whatever's in your room.
Also, oh sorry.
No. You just a basic way of saying you realize that you have another avenue to make money. That's not just your 9 to 5, and it's fun. Like
It is a lot of fun. But also too, if you're say you want to be an entrepreneur, right? For example, and you want to start understanding like true logistics of a business, I think flipping online is a great like starter to do that. Because for me now, like I have so many rules that like I have in my head about flipping. So I was like, okay, so like I need X amount of money to buy flips so I can make more profit. Anything over that, so like is $100. What we were talking about. I always keep at least a minimum of $100 in my PayPal account. That's strictly for flipping, like in compensation for buying new things, getting materials, so on and so forth, paying the listing fees. And so once that goes down, and then like more stuff sells, once it hits $100, anything that goes over $100 is profit that I get to keep. So like that's a basic like business, you have your expenses and then you have like your bottom line, like this is as much as we need to make sure that everything's staying afloat. And then like if you're starting off, don't be so like eager to like have that money right there and then just take it for yourself. Reinvest it back into flipping into your business, because that's just going to help it grow so much more faster, and you're just really going to be covering your bases. Honestly, like when it comes down to the money I have in my account and like when I flip, I don't even see it as my money. I just see it as like, oh, this is money that I can go out, buy more stuff so I can make more money out of that stuff and like continue the process as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when I really do feel comfortable about taking some money out for myself and using it for my personal life, then like I don't feel as bad as if like I make a sale and then spend that money right away, because then like what was the point of like doing that? But like that's thinking more of long term versus short term. If you just go on an eBay to sell one thing and just call it a day, then do it. Just spend the money right there. But if you're looking to do this as like a long term thing that you're gonna actually make money on, and that'll like help you pay for some extra amenities like around your house or like in your personal life, then just do that. But I think that's like well put for that point. So if you want to be an entrepreneur and you like want to have like a good break like starting point, because also there's more that goes into it, minus the like business aspects and how to handle your money, but then you're like learning about which will go into the next thing is like what's in the market, like what are people out there looking for in the market. So for us it just started with like random doohickeys and just really going to the Goodwill store. Mugs is like a big thing that
Mug life.
Really into. Boom. I just actually got this today, this Winnie the Pooh and Piglet mug from a consignment shop that I was looking through today. Got it for 99 cents.
Shit, it was 99 cents?
Shit, it was 99 cents. And it's something like that because, is Disney, Winnie the Pooh is like, one of the Disney's big hallmarks. And so, like, I know there are people out there who are always buying, Disney-related items. And
Disney always sells.
Yeah.
That's the golden rule.
Disney always sells.
No matter what you have Disney. I bought a Disney tote bag. It was from Disney World. It was embroidered. No blemishes or anything. No stains, scratches or anything. And it sold. Like, I bought it for shit. It was 99 cents. It was listed as a shopping bag. It was listed as a reusable shopping bag under the catalog of Goodwill. And I sold it for like 10 or like 11 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd be surprised what like the things that you kind of just pass by. You might not necessarily want to buy it, but there are so many people out there who just like mugs. Mugs sell really well because they're cute. You can add them to your collection.
Yeah, I'm pissed right now because when I was thrifting today, I was looking through all the mugs and then there was a frame, a Disney frame, with all like the Disney princesses and characters. And I was like, oh, like, I'm going to get that in just 1 second. I just got to, like, check something on eBay to make sure, like, what I'm looking at is going to sell. And then I turn around and it was gone. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I'm actually afraid of that all the time. Sometimes I'm there and I see these older ladies who see me on my phone and they, like, see what I'm looking at. So I try to, like, I know it sounds weird, like I'm competing with these old ladies, but I'm like, I I try to make it not obvious what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's the funny thing too about going to a thrift store is like there are people who are going there to like get a bargain because they probably don't have the money to buy like actual market retail stuff.
Yeah.
But there are resellers.
They're treasure hunters, yeah.
Yeah.
I passed a lady, so I went into a Goodwill out in West Roxbury, and this woman went by, and she saw me on my phone, and she overheard me. I was talking to my friend. I was trying to teach him a lot of this stuff to, get him started up, especially because he has a car, and that's going to come in handy in the next segment. But, yeah, she was like, yeah, they've changed. This place went to shit once they found out people were reselling. Because a lot of these places, Goodwill used to be very, very cheap. Always was cheap. But now, since flipping and reselling are in the zeitgeist, are kind of popular now, a lot of like Salvation Army, Goodwill, Savers, they're raising their prices on some stuff because they know people are on the hunt. So they actually look at the market value. Which, can't hate the player. Can't hate the game either. Just kind of... That's just is what it is. So you kind of have to... It's basically a race to the bottom. Because you're trying to look for the biggest deal. So... Usually the bigger deal is garage sales, tag sales, estatesales.com.
Yep.
Sponsor, please. Those, because then people typically you can negotiate harder with rather than like a big lot donation place like Goodwill. Yeah.
But yeah, in speaking in the market too, so when we first started, our like knowledge was really basic and limited. Mm-hmm. So like for us, it revolved around like mugs, and then I started to get you over the summer really got into board games, reselling board games.
Monopoly specifically. Yeah, surprising amount of profit to be found in Monopoly games.
Yeah, and then I also sold a couple board games myself here and there, but then after a while, like I just had a question to myself. It was like, you know what? Like, I want to learn more about sneakers. So I just fucking deep dived into sneakers.
Yeah, one day I was talking to Eddie. We were talking about mugs, bags, this, that, the other. He comes back, and I would have sworn that Eddie started his own shoe company. Because he's like, Gage, what you don't know about Nike is the reason that this, that, the other, and the swoosh this and that, and the Velcro that and this, and the suede this and that, and the aglet. Mm-hmm. Bro, these aglets were actually touched by Jordan, and that's why
that's why they're so popular.
So like Eddie, and I really admire him for this. When he came back, like he did all this research and just
he's always learning
that journey.
So
that dive, because that was crazy. You just came back and you knew so much already, and you're still learning.
I'm always learning because there's always shoes out there, and like now it's starting to leak into like luxury shoes because that. It's just weird. It's kind of like a law of attraction, like where you put your mind, like that's the things that'll keep coming up for you. Well, where we work, there's a lot of rich people around there, so I kind of got into this habit. It was a little weird just to look at their feet to see what they're wearing.
Hey, baby.
Yeah. Hey.
You checking out my feet? Eyes up here, sir. Eyes up here. My but those here. Gucci though. But eyes are up here.
But those Balenciagas, like,
sir, respect. What are you wearing? The Yeezys though, the butters.
But like the more I learned, the more I started that I can identify people like wearing shoes. Like one time I was waiting in line in the UPS, and a guy was wearing a Nike Off-White Prestos, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? This guy's really." And then there was another girl on the train that I saw the other day, and she was wearing freaking Off-White Converse, and I love Converse, by the way. And like I was like, "Are
Show
you
the camera sponsored?"
Kidding me, man? Like. But like that's the cool thing. Like Yeezys are super easy for me to identify now because I see them so often, and like they're like a huge staple in like sneaker culture. Like the 150s and not the 150s, the 350s and the 700s. Like those people are always getting them. 350s are a little bit more common, just because they've been released a little bit more. But the 700s are so the 700s are the Yeezy 700 Boost shoes.
It's about to turn into a sneakerhead podcast.
Yeah, I know. Right? And so those are all like every line that they release are always limited quantities, and so they're always hard to get. I know they're always in store as well, so like you always have to like camp out and wait. And unfortunately, I don't have that kind of like time or like huge investment to get into the resale market. And I fun fact, I have not bought or sold one pair of shoes yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still trying to get into it.
Well, you tried.
I did. Yeah, well, yeah, like, so on Nike has the sneaker app, and so on the sneaker app, you can either wait for releases or sign up for raffles.
Oh, I was talking more about the Marshalls thing.
With Marshall.
We bought that
yeah.
pair.
Oh, actually, I did. Yeah. Well, that was when I got like into it in the very beginning.
And you jumped for it.
I did jump for it, but luckily, I was able to get out of it because it was during the holidays, and so you have holiday returns, and with that, I was after like about 3 weeks or so, I was like, yeah, this is not like I shouldn't have done this,
Yeah.
you know, in like by like jumping so early to like buy shoes. So I like caught my own mistake and returned them before. There were Jordans. I don't know what specific what Jordans they were.
They're like size 400 though.
They
they're
were
like
size
those
12.
clearance. Oh,
Yeah,
they
were
really?
size
They were?
12.
Oh, they looked bigger than I
fucking
thought. Yeah.
They were fuck. I think they were like
It's like black and white something or another.
they were definitely unforgettable. And I'm like still learning about Jordans and identifying which numbers is which in them. Like Jordan 1s are probably the most reproduced and has like an unlimited colorway because they're always just releasing new ones. And then when they retro them, which essentially is taking an old one and then updating it, the like those like become more prevalent. But even for the ones, like the Jordan 1s, those always like have like some crazy specific colorway that comes out, and when those come out, those also come out in limited quantities. So those always have a resale value that like bumps up their price.
Yeah.
Like Jordan sneakers usually just sell for 100, like market retail, but depending on what they are, they can resell for like hundreds more. And if like there's certain, you know, really coveted and prestigious like you know SB Dunks, then those can just fucking fly off. Like the SB Dunk pigeons, made by Jeff Staples, who is a New York designer and you know a sneakerhead as well. He just released the Panda pigeons, which is like the second version of the original pigeons that came out in the early 90s. And like I tried to get into the raffle for that. I didn't get the shoe, of course, but once that shoe came out, it tripled in value.
Wow.
It sold for 100. It went up to like 300 in some sites.
Holy shit.
But yeah, I'm still learning. I'm getting better at identifying. Like I'm finally like remembering like Jordan 4, 5s and 6s. 4, 5, and 6 all look similar, and like I'm always like, okay, like which one is which? Oh, this one has like the little clippy thing for the shoelace, so like that's the Jordan 6. Okay, now I remember that from now on. Blah blah blah. But yeah, there's always so much more to learn about shoes.
Yeah, but yeah, and for me, I'm not gonna go into my whole market branching, but the whole point of this was that we started with mugs, board games, whatever. Now Eddie's learning about shoes, and for myself, I'm trying to focus more on clothing, specifically women's clothing, women's fashion.
Oh yeah, well I'm right now I'm like into men.
And you know, I've branched from eBay. Now I'm trying out Poshmark, and the biggest, you know, research for me wasn't specifically about the history or the models of the clothing that I'm looking at, but instead how people interact and interface on this app Poshmark, because it's like half a social media site, half a selling app, and you have to do one to get the other. You can't just sell like eBay. You can't just put it up on a shelf and hope someone finds it. It's not a search engine like eBay is. It's a social media site with sales included in it. But yeah, we spent enough time talking about research for sure, but that was a roundabout way of saying that like it can start somewhere, but it leads you into so many different markets. You know, we have a joke like, oh, you know, I'm getting to the art game now, and I'm just like get a jeweler's loop and I start trying to find Monets and like
get into the cars and resell.
Yeah,
be a motorhead.
But you never know what you find. You find one thing that sells really well, or you find something that fascinates you. Like, oh, you know how much money is in like the furniture market, you know, or like whatever you're, you know, exactly. You would know, of course. That was a bad example. Obviously, you know a lot about that. But you know, like mugs, it was kind of like the sleeper hit, or board games. I didn't know that much, you know, because they're collectible. But yeah, now I guess to wrap this whole thing up, what we're excited about this. Another smaller thing, I guess, to touch on before we get wrap this up with the announcement at the end. We noticed that it actually diminishes your craving to buy useless shit. So like touching back on the fact that like there's still a lot of stuff crowding your room because you bought it because you thought you'd want it one time, or maybe you did want it but then it lost its luster and you don't use it anymore. my life itself has become so minimal with the stuff that I actually buy for myself, because half the excitement, most of the excitement, I would probably like 75% of it, is just buying the thing in the first place. Going and like, oh, that's a cool thing, and then buying it.
Yeah.
So that excitement, we're paying off. We're turning that excitement into like our like profitable hobby at this point.
Where you're kind of just focusing your energy in something else. So instead of saying, "Oh, I want that because like that's the hottest new thing," now you're gonna say, "Oh, I want that so I can flip it because it's the hottest thing."
Yeah, it changes your perception completely.
Yeah, it does, and I think it is for the better. And now I understand why you said that, because, you know, and I kind of just lost my train of thought with it. But with that in mind, you buy something. It's just it's like the word is like at the tip of my tongue.
Status.
Not status. It refines how you see things that you want.
Yes.
So instead of buy,
Sure.
now you're a little bit more thoughtful about, okay, like, do I really need this? Like, does it fit in my life? Does it actually fit with my personality? Like, would it look good in me aesthetically?
Yeah.
It definitely has narrowed down, because instead of saying want, it helps you focus more on what you really want versus what you think you want. You know, like everybody, like you can have a TV, you can have an Xbox and whatnot, but like for me, I know the camera can show it. Like I have a whole bunch of One Piece stuff because I love One Piece, so I like to collect One Piece, you know, memorabilia, and then hopefully, you know, down the road I can start collecting sneakers too. So, like those are my focuses now. Is instead of just like trying to get like as much random stuff as I want, like now my mind is, you know, focused to a point where that I just need the basics, and then if I really want something, then I know how to like siphon it through my mind, kind of filter through all the bullshit to really say, do I really need it or do I really not need it?
Yeah. But to wrap this up, we've been going on long enough. In baseball, attitudes, things that we like about it, what it's done for us. We recently, to kind of escalate this even more, because all we talk about, and you can ask the people we work with, and they will begrudgingly tell you how much we talk about flipping stuff and retail arbitrage and all this. We decided to do a minor competition between the two of us.
Which I'm gonna win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can think that you're gonna win, but that's okay. It's okay. We'll let it shake out. You know, we'll see how this shakes out. But anyways, being that spring cleaning is coming up, being that garage sale comes with warmer weather, people trying to get rid of their shit, Eddie and I are going to have a competition to see who can make the most profit between the days of March 20th being the first day of spring and June 20th being the day before, you know, so at midnight, June 21st will be the end of it. So basically for the entire season of spring, as it reads on the calendar, Eddie and I will be buying, listing, selling things, whether it be on Poshmark, eBay, whatever site, however, as long as you have proof of sales, whatever. We have all the details.
You just need the receipts.
Yeah, basically, it's also an honor code thing. It's, you know, whatever. But whoever makes the most profit, that's just the goal. That's the metric that we're using to measure this. Whoever makes the most profit in that time wins. And the winner, I mean, it's kind of like the winner gets to choose wherever they want to go to eat. The loser has to pay for the whole thing. Plus, the loser has to wear a shirt that says, "My flip is weak."
Mm-hmm.
We were also considering getting a trophy, like a ridiculous, like high school karate tournament trophy. But I'm not sure about that.
Nah,
but for sure the dinner, the dinner thing, and wearing a shirt that says, "My flip is weak."
Yeah, maybe down the road, if you know we continue doing these kind of competitions, and we can throw a trophy in there right now.
For sure.
Well, a shirt and a dinner sounds good.
But yeah, this is, you know, friendly competition to boost that motivation, fire under the butt, you know, actually give you something to get out and be like, not only, oh, that would be cool to flip, but oh, I can't wait to have Eddie pay for my bloomin' onion, even though there's like no Outback. Outback's not where I'm going to be going.
If I finally get the traction of selling shoes, you're done. Like, you are done.
Oh, yeah, I know I'm done, but let's just remember where your first sale was. So anyways, that was the competition. That's the competition that we're going to be going into. Yeah, I think that's it. You know, this is an episode of Flips. An episode for sure to refer back to when you're feeling motivated to put a little extra cash in your pocket, saving up for a vacation, trying to pay off student loans, we know it's rough out there.
Mm-hmm.
The nights are dark and full of
Sorry.
terror, as Stannis Baratheon said. So yeah, it's you just got to start, and whatever your corner of the world is, whatever your market is, if you know fucking jewelry, let that be your thing. Start with what you know, build off from there.
Yeah.
That's just
Sounds good.
it's real estate.
Yeah.
But
Anything else?
until next time, this is Gage signing off.
This is Eddie signing off.
This has been Two Boys Podcast.